The hardest part of transformation is not becoming the man. It's refusing to return to the man you finally escaped. Most men never consider that. They spend everything getting there, and they spend nothing learning how to stay. This is Iron Suits, where we don't talk about fitness like a hobby. We talk about the body as proof of standard, proof of ownership, proof that the man building the business is not quietly abandoning himself behind it. This is the final episode of the series. It's called Sustain. Well, the method is called Sustain. The title is To Be Confirmed. And look, if you're thinking, finally, the maintenance plan, this episode is not for you. Maintenance is what men call it when they're already preparing to negotiate. You've been here before, not necessarily at the end of this sequence, but at the end of a period of effort, a period where the body was a priority, where the results were visible, where people noticed. And then the results went away. Not overnight, month by month, quarter by quarter. Each regression explained, each drift justified, each step back described as temporary, right up until it wasn't. This is where most men fail. Not in the beginning, not in strip, not in the discomfort of sculpt or the precision of shred. In the after, you strip, you sculpt, you reach something you're proud of, something real, something visible, something that cost you. And then life comes back in. The acquisition, the expansion, the Q4 that didn't end when Q4 was supposed to end. And slowly, not in one decision, in 100 small ones, each of them reasonable on its own, the standard drifts. I thought getting here would make me the kind of man who stays here. Every physical transformation that reversed for the same reason. You reached a standard, and without realizing it, you treated it like an achievement. Achievements are completed. Standards are held. This is the only distinction. And it is this distinction that determines whether the work of the last three stages compounds for the rest of your career or disappears by next year. 6 months later, you're standing in a hotel bathroom, different city, same kind of mirror, shirt half buttoned, phone already on the counter, calendar full before breakfast. The compliments have slowed. Nobody's commenting anymore. Nobody's asking what you're doing. The novelty has worn off everyone else. And for the first time in months, you feel the old negotiation return. I'll tighten this back up when this period settles. There it is. Not failure, familiarity. The old identity didn't kick the door in. It just whispered. And you half read it. And you didn't say no clearly enough. That's how it always starts. Not the dramatic collapse, the quiet negotiation, the one that sounds like reason, the one that sounds like self-awareness. I've been under a lot of pressure. I'll reset when the deal closes. I know what I'm doing. I'm just adjusting for the season. Brother, you have negotiated your body into the ground using that exact sentence for the last decade. And this is the hardest part that should actually bother you. You would never let revenue drift for 6 months and call it a season. You would never let standards collapse inside your company and say, I'll tighten up later. You would never allow a key asset to appreciate with no recovery plan and describe it as a temporary adjustment. But your body, different rules, different tolerance, different bullshit. Your calendar is controlled. Your body is reactive. Your business systems are tight. Your physical system is vague. You hire around your weaknesses in business. You tolerate the same weakness in the body without blinking. You review the P&L weekly. You avoid the mirror feedback monthly. You protect company margin. You leak physical standard. This is not a fitness problem. This is a consistency problem. And you know exactly what you'd say to one of your operators if they run their division this way. You would say the standard isn't installed, it's tolerated. There is a difference. I can feel the old version of me negotiating again, and I hate that it still sounds reasonable. Sustain is where the lie dies, because there's nothing left to chase, only something to hold. And holding is where you find out what it was actually built on. Look, you and I both know how this goes. You reached a standard, you are proud of it, you showed up differently, you carried the result. And then a quarter came, a season, a demand that required everything, and you gave the standard back. Not consciously, through small concessions, one missed session, 1 week of reactive eating, 1 month where sleep was the first thing to go. Each concession felt like a reasonable response to a real demand. All of them together produced the regression. And you didn't lose the body. You let the old man back in. The physique is always downstream of the standard. Change the standard, the physique changes every time in both directions. Most men don't fall off after the result. They reveal what the result was built on. Sustain doesn't ask whether you can hold the physique. It asks whether the standard became you or whether you were just performing it while the result was exciting. This is a real question, and it only gets answered here. Let me say something about the word maintenance. It sounds reasonable. It sounds like a man who's got it under control. But listen to what it presupposes. It presupposes the work is over. It presupposes the standard is now something you have to protect from life. It presupposes the real version of you, the one before, is still there, waiting. No, that's a trap. You're not maintaining a result. You're proving the result was never temporary. Those are not the same thing. And the language you use tells you which one you actually believe. A standard that needs a finish line was never a standard, it was a campaign. If the standard disappears when life gets loud, it was never installed, it was rented. Maybe I didn't lose a standard before. maybe I only borrowed it while the result was exciting. And here's the part most men hate. Sustained is boring. There, I said it. No dramatic before after, no heroic comeback, no public applause, no transformation high. Just a man doing what he said he would do when nobody is impressed anymore. Because this is where high performers expose themselves. Not because they don't know what to do. They fucking know. That's what makes it worse. They know exactly what the standard requires. They know exactly what they're doing when they soften it. And they do it anyway. Because the chase is gone. And if the only thing keeping you sharp was the chase, then fuck. Brother, you didn't build identity. You built momentum. And momentum stops. Identity doesn't. The weaponized CEO framework. This is what Sustain is built inside. And I want you to be clear about what it is and what it isn't. It's not a maintenance program. It's a lifestyle infrastructure. It is lifestyle infrastructure even. Infrastructure operates continuously. It doesn't require motivation to function. It doesn't pause for hard quarters. It doesn't negotiate with the calendar. Strip is the excavation. Sculpt is the architecture. Shred is the reveal. Sustain is the security system. Not the traffic cabinet, the alarm system that stops the old man walking back into the house. 3 components. The first is the identity anchor. The decision made once clearly at the end of stage 3. That this is now who you are. Not what you achieved, who you are. A man who holds a standard. And you are not a man who goes below your standard. The second is the non-negotiable floor. 3 inputs: movement, protein, sleep. The same floor from episode 13, I think it was, still in place, held without the exception through every season, every acquisition, every Q4 that becomes Q1. And by the way, this is episode going to be 21. So episode 13 is what, 8 before that? It's not going to be named episode 13. I don't remember what the episode was. But anyway, if you go back 8 episodes before, this is where it's all I'm talking about. The third is the rapid reset protocol. Because disruption will happen. Travel, illness, a period where the standard was compromised. The rapid reset is the defined procedure for returning to standard within 48 to 72 hours of the disruption ending. Not a 6-week program to get back, not a new beginning, a reset. The man who holds a standard doesn't restart, he resets. Those are not the same word, and they're not the same action. Picture this. You're 2 days out from a deal closing. You haven't slept properly in a week. The team is stretched. The pressure is everywhere. You walk into a boardroom, and the man across the table looks tight, controlled, present, like someone who didn't negotiate the standard at the first sign of load. You notice it, not consciously maybe, but you register it, because the room always registers it. The room knew before you introduced yourself. It knew from the posture, the stillness, the way a man carries himself when the standard is installed versus when he's managing the decline. Sustain is not vanity, it's signal, and the signal doesn't switch off because the quarter got hard. If I drift now, I can't blame the plan. I can only look at the man holding it. In the final week of stage 3, you make one decision. Not about training, not about nutrition, about who you are from that point. You name the standard, not vaguely, not I'll stay in shape. That means nothing. What is the floor? What is the acceptable range? At what point does the reset activate? Because if you don't define the line, you move it every time life pushes. And life will always push. You write it down, you make it concrete, because the standard that isn't defined is a standard that drifts. And then you operate inside it. Not as someone maintaining a result, as someone who is this. Listen, the man who has defined his standard clearly and installed it as identity, he does not experience sustain as discipline. He experiences it as congruence, the alignment between who he knows himself to be and what the world sees when he walks into a room. You don't sustain the physique, you sustain the standard. The physique is just what the standard looks like. Strip, rebuild the foundation, sculpt, build the structure, shred, reveal the man, sustain decides whether he was real. That's the part nobody claps for. Nobody gives you credit 6 months later for still being the man you said you became. But the mirror knows, the room knows, the wife knows, the children know, your team knows, and somewhere underneath all the noise, so do you. The old identity is not dead. It is sitting outside the gates, waiting for you to stop guarding the standard. If you drift now, it will not be because life got hard. Life was always going to get hard. It will be because the old identity was still allowed back in. Sustain is not the final phase. It is the verdict. Iron Suits is out where strength wears the crown. I am Marwan Killu. The next episode, the standard is the strategy. While your body is already making professional decisions before you speak. Till then, have a great day and I'll see you in the next episode.